Hey everybody, Eddie Inzauto, GamerNode.com, and I'm back with another board game review, taking a look at the very beautiful, very interesting, and unique, thematic but abstract board game, The World of Smog, on Her Majesty's service. This one's from CMON, and it's designed by Sir Yohan Lemonnier. We're going to take a look at it, see all the things that you can do in this game where you're trying to collect different artifacts through a series of market trade transactions and a very interesting rotating gear mechanic. So let's take a look at the game, and then I'll tell you what I think in the final thoughts. Now, CMON has done a really great job. I wanted to show you the box and the insert. We've got the board here in this indented insert. All these perfectly cut out areas for all the different components, our ether markers, coins, hourglasses, cards, all these gears with that beautiful artwork. Really love it. And a space for the minis. And again, as usual, the minis are amazing. They all look so cool. We've got this little dude here with his sweet hat. I think it's the doctor. We've got, this Shadow Master. Really cool, very detailed. All of them are really interesting. This Gatekeeper. Those are the agents. Here are some of the characters. Got this dude with his little pipe. I forget his name. But they all do have names. They all have a backstory, and they all are just really cool. Very detailed. They all do come in this really nice packing. We've got some more gears underneath. Just really nice. Everything's so well done. I really, really like that. I really do appreciate when care is taken in a nice box insert. And even with this cover on the figures so that this board goes back on there nicely. Just really great, and I wanted to show you that. Another thing worth looking at are the player boards. This is really great artwork on here as well. Just very nice. This is how you track all of your different ethers. You move your marker around. You'll either have 1, 2, 3, or none. And that's how you know if you've satisfied the gate combination, which I'll get to during gameplay. Really cool. Everything looks great. It really gives a nice feeling to the game and gives you sort of a sense of being enveloped in this atmosphere that they're trying to create with this theme. Alright, so this is the very interesting looking Clockwork design board for the World of Smog on Her Majesty's service. It's made up of these different gear sections, each of which comes off and goes in a specific location, set in a specific orientation, and then these 4 larger ones on the outside. The center does not rotate. This is a starting point where you can perform special actions from. And on each turn, well, the goal of the game is to get 1 each of these 4 artifact cards, and then find your way to the specific secret gate card that you get at the beginning of the game. And the interesting thing about these, each player gets one, and each one is different, and they correspond to specific locations on the map, on the game board, that you'll need to get to and finish your turn on with a specific combination of ethers in order to win the game. And these arrows represent the orientation of the board. So if I'm sitting on the side with the camera, then this is how I would hold it. If I'm sitting over here on the right side of the board, then it would be, from my perspective, those arrows pointing up. In this game, each player always sits across one of the sides of the board. And you'll see that on the board itself, there are always different numbers facing one of the 4 cardinal directions. And that plays a big part in how each player interacts with the board and each space, because if I'm on this side of the board, I'm only ever interacting with these numbers. I'm manipulating all of the numbers because one of the actions or a few of the actions require these to turn, and I may want to make things difficult for my opponents by making it more expensive to buy a certain ether, or making it easy for myself or beneficial for myself to sell, or easy for myself to buy. These are all corresponding to coin values for trades. I mentioned before that you get these gate cards, the secret gate cards, as a win condition, but you also get each player gets one of these secret combination cards, and these indicate the combination of ethers that you have to have at the end of the game, along with the 4 artifacts, when you get to the secret gate that's listed on your personal card. So everyone has a different goal, multiple different goals in fact. You have the same goal to gain the 4 artifacts, but you have different goals to gain these ethers versus this player who wants these ethers and this player who wants these ethers, and then you're all trying to get to different locations. And that is so very cool. You never know what anyone is doing in terms of how far they are in achieving their goal and how close they are to being victorious. So at the beginning of this game, you're also going to have these special agents that come out, and they each have a specific effect on the game. So the doctor might go out in this number 1 position, or that's the 4 position. The merchant might go out in the 1 position. The witch might go out in this 2 position. And the dandy might go out in the 3 position here. And then these other 2, the gatekeeper and the lost boy on this particular game, they go way back in the box. And then these characters will go out to their specific cards where they're listed, and once a transaction is made, the first transaction, they come out and they occupy a board. Say this guy made a transaction on this square, this gear, then the first guy would come out, the first agent. Then maybe this player makes a transaction here, the second agent would come out. And they do things. I don't know if you read them, but this one, the merchant, on the gear that he's on, he gives you a -1 to buy and a +1 to sell. That's a very beneficial guy to have around. And then the witch loses you lose 1 action if you start on her tile. So it's really bad to be around her. And the interesting thing is that throughout the game, players can take control of the Shadow Master character when they become the first player, and they pay coins to gain the favor of the Shadow Master. And at the beginning of the round, they can move these characters. So say I'm this guy and this character has just come out and I gain the Shadow Master in his favor. I can choose to move her over to where this player is beginning so that he loses an action on his turn. And maybe if I was this player and I had the favor of the Shadow Master, I might move the merchant over because I want to buy at a cheaper rate or sell at a higher rate on my turn. So that's another thing. You have these outside influences aside from the very specific mechanism of the game. These are sort of these variable X factors that you can add, and you gain control, you gain sway over them by spending coins to gain the Shadow Master's favor. You, on every turn, you can place money onto your player board, and at the end of the round, whoever has the most coins out there gains the first player token and gains control of that Shadow Master. And every time that switches, the oldest revealed agent goes back, and the next one in order, these are numbered 1, 2, 3, and 4, the next one in order then comes out in his place. So you can also watch what's coming up and make the changes. You know, maybe I want this dandy to come out. Lose 1 coin if you start on that tile. Say I was one of these other players and I had the opportunity to make that character lose a coin on their next turn, thus ruining their chance to purchase anything. It's very cool how these agents come out and affect gameplay. And that's without even mentioning what you can do on each turn in your standard actions. So what you're trying to do is gain these ethers, right? So you're trying to gain a certain number of ethers, and you're also trying to purchase these artifacts. But money is limited, so there is some degree of buying and selling before you can finally be successful. So on each turn, each player has up to 3 actions they could take out of, I think there's a total of 9. You can move your gentlemen, that's what they're called, gentlemen, and you can only move them along paths that are unblocked by these fog gates. So rotating these can hinder your or your opponent's progress and what they want to do, since they're limited to a total of 3 actions. Only, part of that can be movement. I mean, all 3 could be movement, but then you're not going to do any of the other actions. Then you can simply rotate a tile you're on clockwise. Or you can make a purchase. So say we're always this player. You can make a purchase there. I can spend 2 coins and gain 1 brown ether. And when you make a purchase, you place this hourglass. It's just, they're beads, essentially. But you place that on there and then rotate once clockwise. And what that does is makes this unusable, because another action is to remove 1 hourglass anywhere from the board. So maybe I would remove that. Another action, along with buying, is selling. And you can't do a buy and a sell on the same tile on the same turn. You can buy twice or sell twice, but you can't just, buy for 1, rotate, and sell for 2, because that is lame. But if you were somewhere and you wanted to now sell for 2, you could then sell your 1 brown and get your 2 coins, place an hourglass, and again rotate it clockwise. You can do the same thing if you're on an artifact tile on one of these gears, and instead of getting the ether, see, these are neutral color, these are just a non-ether color, you pay the 3 and you gain that artifact. And now you're trying to get each artifact. Once you have the 4, you are in a position to make your escape from the shadow market through the gate that we mentioned before. And you can always manipulate those tiles as well. If you're feeling really poor, you can go to the Esplanade. That's this middle section. There are a couple of actions you can take there. One is to request coins from the queen. So if you have the fewest amount of coins, you'll gain coins from the queen. If you're tied with someone else for the fewest, you'll gain only 1 coin. And also in the center, you can choose to rotate any 1 tile in either direction. So that's sort of a chaotic move you can do. You can really mix people up by moving a tile that maybe they're on and changing their whole plan moving forward. And then after that, you get one of these special cards that has a special power. So this one is really cool. Rotate the entire board 90 degrees in any direction. That's actually probably my favorite one, just for how crazy it is when you do it. But there are cards in there that are less cool, and there are cards that are even more severe, and they just require that you have this combination of ethers in your possession. You don't spend those. There is a card that lets you take an artifact from another player. Not my favorite. And then finally, you can exit the shadow market. If you get to your spot and you have all the required stuff, you turn over your thing, you turn over this one, you turn over both your exit gate and your secret combination. You show that you have those things and you're in that spot, and you win the game. And if I didn't mention before, you can always play one of your special action cards at any point during your turn. Those are not part of your 3 actions. And you can always pay the Shadow Master by putting as many coins as you want up on the top of your player board, which I guess we could show right here, just by putting that up in this spot, so that at the end of the round, whoever has the most gives that money in and gets the Shadow Master on his or her board. And then, of course, on the next round, you would get to manipulate the special agent characters. And that's that's really everything you can do in this game, and it looks and plays differently from almost anything I've played, and I really do enjoy it, and I'll tell you a little bit more in just a second. Alright, so that's the world of Smog on Her Majesty's service, and this game is so unique. It's just the way that the abstract mechanisms and all these trading actions to gain the resources you need to collect the various different artifacts while making the most of all of the different agents around the board, as well as the Shadow Master, and then the spatial element of the different gates, the secret gates, and your secret combinations, and changing the board using the cards. It all works together really well, and I really do enjoy playing this game. The theme, while not necessary, it really gives a different feeling to the game, and while it doesn't necessarily integrate with the mechanics themselves, it does create an atmosphere that is very positive and makes the experience feel far, far less dry than other abstract type games can feel. I really enjoy this game. I think there's a lot of strategy to think about in the world of Smog on Her Majesty's service. I like the way that the board state is something that you have to constantly think about, prepare for, and manipulate to affect your opponents. It's really just so unique in its mechanisms with all of these gears. Like, we've seen a game like Tzolk'in with the main gear mechanism on the board that affects peripheral gears in a sort of worker placement mechanic. But this is something entirely different, and I don't think I've ever seen a game that operates like the world of Smog on Her Majesty's service. And it's really, really good. I do enjoy it very much. So the game looks very complex when you first take a look at it, and it can be a little frightening to someone who's just sitting down. But once you go over the actions and explain what you can do on each turn, everything is very, very intuitive, and turns are quick and simple, and people maximize their efficiency around the board and use that spatial element of the 4 different numbers on each of the wheels to really manipulate the gameplay for their better. There is a card, there may be a couple of cards, but there's one card that stands out that I think I might even want to remove from the deck when I play, and that's the one where you can take an artifact from another player. There are cards that let you take resources, take the ethers from another player, but the one card that lets you take an entire artifact from another player does seem to be overpowered to me. So I've played where that card doesn't come up, and the game works perfectly. But when that card comes up, it's a really big swing, and the person who gets it has a real advantage. But the person who has their artifact taken really feels like they've just been decimated, and I don't think that's really good for the game. I don't think that benefits the play experience. So a quick and easy fix to that is just remove that card. I think there are 2 of them in the deck. Otherwise, the cards are really interesting, having ethers to spend, to do game-breaking things, to take special actions. They're fun and they're powerful, but not to the point where it ruins the game for anybody. Overall, this is a great game. I'm keeping it. It's 4 out of 5 on the GamerNode scale for sure. Totally positive experience, and definitely something to look at if you have interest in abstract games or semi-abstract games, but still want the mechanism to be abstract while the game itself has some sort of theme. This is not checkers. You know, this is a very well-themed game. It has storyline involved. It has all these different interesting characters that are described in detail and have abilities and effects on the game that make sense. Super cool. Amazing minis. Great art. The World of Smog on Her Majesty's service. Definitely a 4 out of 5. I really like it. So that's our review. Thanks for watching. Give us a thumbs up if you like our videos, and please do subscribe to see everything new that comes out of our channel. Follow us on Facebook, facebook.com/GamerNode, and on Twitter @GamerNode, and of course on the site, GamerNode.com. Until next time, keep having fun out there, and I'll see you later.